Okay, so for eyeshadow, I'm actually really surprised at how many people have already hit pan on this palette because it's relatively new, but I could also see why because there's a lot of beautiful neutrals in here. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a full face of products that you've hit pan on or used up if it's a liquid product. This was so fun to collect answers on my Instagram. I asked you guys this question a while back, so it's been a long time coming since I initially had this video idea, but I'm so happy to finally be sitting down to film it. I love filming the videos where I get your feedback because it's so interesting to me to collect all the data and to see all the different similarities. I feel like so many people have very similar products that you guys are using up. So I'm really excited to share with you guys the products that I picked. Obviously, there were so many different submissions. I wish I could have tried out or used all the things that you guys are loving and hit pan on or used, but I just picked what I felt like most people were talking about. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. I am going to start with my eyes first today, just because I'm wanting to do a makeup look with the palette I'm going to use that I've worn before on my channel, and every single time I wear it, you guys always ask for a tutorial, so I'm going to do a certain look with this. So let's go ahead and start with brows. I don't really know how to say this handle, but Allie said the Ulta brand Slim Brow Pencil is my ultimate favorite product ever. I've gone through 4. I had never tried this before, so I actually went to Ulta, you guys. My Ulta is open. Obviously, they take precautions, so you wear a mask and there's hand sanitizer and you don't use the testers, but it was so crazy to go into a makeup store because it's been so long. It's been over 2 months since I've gone in stores, so I grabbed just a couple of things. One of them was this pencil. This packaging is so hard to get off. There we go. Oh my gosh. Took me like 10 minutes. I picked up the shade medium brown. Hopefully this is the right shade for me. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and fill in the brows with this pencil. Okay, right off the bat, I do feel like I'm enjoying the texture of this product. It's not too waxy and it's also not too dry. It's just the right in between. I also love how there's a spoolie on the other end. I know that's like pretty common with most brow pencils, but it's something that I personally need in a brow product because I use it right after filling in the brows. I always go back and brush through. Okay, yeah, I think that went on really nicely. I'm gonna have to see how it wears throughout the day because on me, since I don't have that many brow hairs, especially toward the end of the brow, if a brow product fades, it's not always my favorite. So I'm gonna wear this throughout the rest of the day, and I'll leave a note in the description letting you know how it wore. But based on the application and my first impressions, I really do like it. So this is another Instagram name that I can't pronounce, so I'm just gonna say Caroline. Caroline said the Fenty Pro Filter Eye Primer is something that she used up, so I already have this. I'm gonna go ahead and apply this all over the eyes. I'm just gonna take this and apply a little bit all over the lids, and then I'm just gonna blend it out with my fingers, focusing it on the actual eyelid, but then once there's less product on the finger, I am gonna bring it up and out toward the end of the brow, just all over the area where I know I'm going to apply eyeshadow. So I'm kinda gonna bring it into this inner corner here too. I really like this product. It's funny because I used to be somebody who did not care for eyeshadow primers at all, but the more that I've dabbled into them, the more I realize it really does make a difference. And this definitely is one of the best that I've personally tried, so I wanted to use it in the video today. Okay, so for eyeshadow, I'm actually really surprised at how many people have already hit pan on this palette because it's relatively new, but I could also see why because there's a lot of beautiful neutrals in here. One of the other top palettes was the Tartelette and Bloom palette, which I know so many of you guys love. For me personally, it's not one that I reach for often. So I wanted to use the second most mentioned palette, which is the Tati Beauty Textured Neutrals eyeshadow palette. A lot of you guys said specifically that you hit pan on the Soothe Matte, or you've also hit pan on some of the glitters. I personally have hit pan on the glitter right here, the Aura glitter in this palette. So this is the eyeshadow palette that we're going to be using. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to show you guys one of my go-to looks with this that I feel like a lot of you guys always ask questions about when I do wear it. So starting off with the matte shade in Aura, I'm going to make sure that the eyeshadow primer is nice and dried down. And then I'm going to take this in the crease and a little bit above just to kind of create a nice base for when the eyeshadows blend up toward the brow. This will help them blend much easier. So I'm not putting it on the lid, I'm just literally going right above the crease, almost in the transition area to start creating a nice smooth base there. Next, I'm going to take the matte shade in Soothe. I'm going to tap off the extra and I'm going to start to build up a halo eye. So I'm going to pat a little bit of that on the outer corner right here and then the inner portion of the eye. And then once there's less on the brush, I'm going to connect the two very lightly right in the crease. I'm just going to make sure that that looks nice and blended before moving on to other colors. I didn't add any more product on the brush. I'm just taking that and kind of moving in circular motions to make sure that it's super seamless, but I am leaving the center open so that we can continue to build that halo eye effect. I'm gonna do the exact same thing on this eye. Okay, so now that the eyes look pretty similar, we're gonna dip into the matte shade Poet. And I'm gonna take a really small amount of this. We're gonna build this one up a little bit more. So just starting off with a smaller amount, I'm gonna start to build right on top of that Soothe matte shade. And similar to what we were just doing, I will take what's left on the brush once there is a little bit less and start buffing that in to kind of mix the two shades and create somewhat of a custom shade. I'm just continuing to buff and blend. Again, I didn't add any more product to the brush until I'm happy with how the colors are moving into each other. All right, I'm just gonna do the same exact thing on the other eye. Okay, next we're gonna do the same exact thing with the matte brown shade in the palette called Ritual. I'm gonna really tap off the extra on the brush and then seriously do the exact same thing. I am focusing this particular shade a little bit closer to the lash line than the other two, just because I like the gradient that the first two shades created. So I don't wanna lose all of that, but I am still gonna blend it on top of the two existing shades that we already placed down. And this is where we're gonna see a lot more of that depth and dimension. Same thing over here on the inner and outer corners of the eye first, and then blending what's left on the brush up and out. I'm gonna go into the metallic shade in Poet. This is where we're gonna start building up the center of the lid. So I'm gonna start by applying this on a larger portion of the center of the lid. So I'm just kind of brushing this across the lid to start to create that nice base. And I am blending it over top of the matte shades on the edges, but I'm not going so far over to cover up what we already did. Just like that. Then I'm going to take the other side of the brush and dip into the metallic Soothe shade. And with this, I'm going to focus much more in the very, very center of the eyelid. And when I'm doing a halo eye, I really like to kind of get a lot of the pigment up against the lash line. I feel like it really adds to the intensity of the overall look. I'm gonna make sure to blend the crease a little bit with one of the brushes we were using before. Okay, so that's a nice base. Now we're gonna go into the glitter shades, my favorite part. I'm starting with the shade Poet. I'm just gonna take a bit of that on my finger and I'm going to press that on the center of the lid. And this one I'm doing a little bit more scattered and a little bit more all over the center of the lid. So I'm just using light tapping motions and I'm taking just a little bit at a time to make sure I don't have too much of an opaque glitter situation to where I don't see what I already did underneath the glitter. Okay, we're gonna hop into the Soothe glitter shade. This one I want a little bit more intense. So I'm taking a bit more of that and I'm popping that just on the center of the lid. Again, for kind of that ombre effect. Okay, before I clean up the under eye area, I'm gonna take the matte memory shade along with a little bit of Poet. And I'm gonna try to blend the two on the back of my hand a little bit until it creates a shade kind of like this. And I'm using a flat brush and I'm gonna take that and go right along the outer edge of the top lash line just to create a little bit more definition there. I'm just taking that first brush that we used with the matte aura shade and I'm making sure that the edges up into the brows are nice and blended out. I am gonna take that actually and dip into a little bit more of the matte Soothe shade. Just because I feel like now that I have the color on, I feel like the transition shade can be placed a little bit higher up on my eye. But I'm doing this very, very lightly. All right, now I'm gonna take my makeup wipe and use it to clean up the edges underneath the eye and also on the edge of the eye to kind of sharpen up that eyeliner. Well, it's not eyeliner, but the eyeshadow that we used as eyeliner. And then as always, I take my finger and just press the edges down so it's not too intense. Same thing over here on this eye. Okay, when it comes to having glitter on my eyes, I do like to put on top lash mascara after doing the eyes just because I feel like it helps catch any more fallout. CamiKen165 says she used up the Maybelline Lash Sensational Mascara. It's funny because I purchased this months and months ago for another video. And I never ended up filming that video, and I've heard so many good things from you guys actually about this mascara. So I felt like this video would be a great time to finally open this up and use it. Here's what the wand looks like. I'm excited. The packaging's really cute on this too. Okay, so I'm just gonna build this up on the top lashes only for now. Okay, right off the bat, I'm really loving this applicator. Wow, that's really nice. I did get some mascara on the top lid, but that's okay. I'm just gonna wait for it to dry. Okay, why did it take me so long to try this mascara? It is going on my lashes like an absolute dream. I'm praying that it doesn't smudge or flake because that is always a deal breaker for me when it comes to mascara, but I'm obsessed with how that went on. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about that. I will also leave a note down below letting you know how the mascara wears throughout the day. All right, let's move on to complexion. For primer, Jessie Tay said the Smashbox Primerizer. She said, I have repurchased twice, almost done with my second bottle. That's amazing. So many people actually talked about this or submitted this. A lot of other people said the Tatcha Silk Canvas, the e.l.f. Putty Primer. I saw the Milk Makeup Grip Primer. There were a lot of people that go through similar primers, but I felt like I saw more of the primerizer being used up, so that's why I wanted to use this one today. I just did about no, that was like 3 pumps into my hands, and I'm just gonna blend that out all over the skin. I love how lightweight this feels, but it's so hydrating, and my makeup sits on top of it so nicely. I've been keeping it front and center on my desk recently, and I've found myself reaching for it all over again quite a bit. And I feel like you can really feel it sink into the skin, which is nice too. So for foundation, initially I wanted to use something that I hadn't tried before, but as I was going through the responses, it was so clear to me that like 80% of people who submitted a foundation they were going through submitted this one. So I just used this in a recent tutorial, but that's okay. If you guys are loving it and if I'm loving it, we should just use it up. Why not? So this is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. Let me see who submitted this. I know so many people did. Megan Noel 24 was the first person that I saw submit this. So I have the shade 420. I'm just going to do 1 pump on the back of my hand. 2. I did 2 pumps. I'm just going to take that straight off the back of my hand with a foundation brush, and I'm going to start to evenly distribute this all over the skin. Once I feel like it's pretty even across the skin with a brush, I'm going to take what's left on the back of my hand with my beauty blender, and I'm just going to go ahead and press that into the skin until it's fully blended out. Okay, I feel like it's nice and blended. The one thing I wish would change about this foundation is the heavy fragrance in it. I'm always worried that fragrance is gonna like irritate my skin. Some products it does, some products it doesn't, or at least it's more obvious when a product does. It just depends on the product for me when it comes to fragrance. Some fragrances it seems like really irritate my skin. Others for some reason don't as much. But anyway, it's a really beautiful foundation regardless. I don't want to mess up this name either, so I'm just going to say Anise. Hopefully I'm saying that right. She said the Becca Under Eye Corrector. I just finished my second one today, so I have that right here. This is such a beautiful product. I need to use it more. I honestly feel like I don't use it as much as I should. I'm going to take that on a little concealer brush, and I'm going to start to just kind of pat that underneath the eye area. The thing I like about this is not only does it brighten with its peachy undertone, but also it has like a really interesting, almost tacky, dewy finish to it. So I feel like when I apply it, it brightens, but it also kind of smooths and hydrates the under eye area too. I'm just gonna press that into the skin with my finger. And something I learned from you guys was to use under eye corrector over blemishes to kind of brighten it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that over top of my stubborn blemishes and press that in with my finger. Okay, a couple of you guys mentioned this concealer and I wanted to use it again. I almost forgot about it, I feel like. But Emma PM said the First Aid Beauty Bendy Avocado Concealer, absolutely amazing concealer. It honestly is. That's why I was almost shocked that I hadn't used this in so long. So I have 2 shades. I have the shade 1 and 2. I'm gonna go in with the shade 1 first. It's crazy because I used to use this all the time. I loved it and I honestly don't remember exactly what it looks like on the skin, so I'm excited to be using this again. I'm going to take it down the center of the face a little bit. Then I'm going to take the shade 2, which is just a little bit deeper. And I'm going to mix that in with the under eye concealer, also over here on the pores. Also, I'm going to use this over blemishes. Maybe on the edge of the forehead concealer too to help it blend. I look a little crazy right now. I'm going to go ahead and take that concealer brush. First, I'm going to take that and blend out the darker concealer over the blemishes. And then I'm just going to take it where I mix the 2 shades and then I'm going to blend out the center of the face last. Okay, I feel like the concealer is blended out in the general area that I want it to be. So I'm going to take my sponge and just press every single area that I applied the concealer. I'm just going to press that down into the skin. Wow, yeah, this really is such a pretty concealer. It looks so fresh on the skin, but it still gives coverage, so it's like very natural looking, but also very perfecting at the same time. Okay, let's go ahead and set the face. I actually have a couple of powders I want to use. HIPAA 2, I hope I'm saying that right, says the Laura Mercier Candle Glow Powder. It's the most incredible makeup product I've ever bought. There were actually a few people that mentioned this, so I wanted to pull this out. It's one of my favorite products too. You can see how well loved this is. I feel like it's just a matter of time until I hit pan on this product myself. I'm just going to take that on this Laura Mercier finishing brush. And I'm going to use this on the outer portions of the face. Okay, I definitely feel like buffing it took up some of the product underneath with this brush. So I'm just going to take it and kind of press down instead of buffing. I'm going to go ahead and layer that onto the sides of the forehead as well. And a little bit in the center of the face. I have another powder I'm going to use though to set the T-zone. This is seriously such a gorgeous product. You can build it up in certain areas to make it look like a highlight if you want as well. You can wear it by itself over top of foundation, or you can layer it on top of like a translucent powder for just a little bit more glow. Tracy Cal 26 said the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush powder, so light and I love it, hit pan on 2. Actually, a lot of people said that they have hit pan on this powder. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Skin Perfecting Micro Powder. I've hit pan on it as well. I'm gonna take this on just a small brush and I'm gonna use this underneath the eyes today and also in the T-zone. So I'm just gonna kind of press that underneath the eyes and then buff it through the T-zone. This really is one of the most flawless powders. And I feel like it really lives up to the name, like airbrush powder. It makes your skin look completely airbrushed. I'm just going back over all the powders really, really lightly with my sponge, just to make sure that it's pressed into the skin really well. Okay, I think things are looking pretty good. Let's finish up the eyes really quick. I'm just gonna do the same exact thing as we did on the top lid. I'm just gonna start with the Matte Soothe shade. I'm gonna tap off the extra, and this time I'm using a smaller brush. I'm going to do the same thing where I focus on the outer corner and then the inner corner of the lid. I'm going to dip into Matte Poet, which is that matte purple shade in the palette. And I'm going to layer that on top of the Matte Soothe shade, just like we did on the top lid. And I'm just blending those together. Then I'm going to take the brush that we used with the Matte Aura shade, which is that really light kind of beigey color. I'm going to take that on the same brush we were using earlier. I'm going to pinch that and then run it along the lower lash line. Underneath where we just applied those shades. I just kind of want to create a little bit more of a soft gradient. And I feel like layering up that shade will kind of lighten up these deeper tones. All right, I'm going to take the Poet metallic shade and go right in the center of the lower lash line. And then I'm going to take the Metallic Soothe shade and just press that right in the very, very center of the lower lash line. I don't want to put glitter on the lower lash line because I find that that tends to fall down. So instead I'm going to take a little bit of the Metallic Aura shade, which is that beautiful champagne, and I'm going to just pop that in the very center as well, just to give even more of an intense halo effect on the lower lash line without actually using that glitter. I'm going to take that same Aura shade with a clean brush and use that to highlight the inner corner of the eye, as well as right underneath the brow bone. This is one of my favorite inner corner and brow bone highlight shades. It's so beautiful. All right, I'm just again making sure that the edges are blended underneath the lower lash line. And I'm gonna go ahead and take that same Maybelline Lash Sensational Mascara and I'm going to apply that to the lower lashes. Okay, I really like this mascara. I'm gonna take the spoolie from the brow pencil and just brush up the brows. Okay, I actually have 2 bronzers that I wanted to use. One is a little bit deep for me, but so many people talked about it, I wanted to incorporate it in this video. And then the other one I saw several people mention as well. So Chelsea Marin said the Pure Bronzing Act Matte Bronzer in Light is something she's hit pan on. And then Amelia said that the Benefit Hoola Bronzer is literally the only product she's ever hit pan on. There were a lot of people that talked about this product as well. So I'm going to be layering the 2 just because I'm trying to match the color properly for me. I'm going to start off with the Pure Cosmetics Matte Bronzer. I really love this bronzer because the shade is perfect for me, I feel. It's not too light, it's not too dark, it blends really beautifully as well. So I'm going to start by applying this shade all over the face, and then we'll warm things up even more with the Benefit Hoola Bronzer. I'm going to blend that down the neck. I'm also going to take that really lightly down the sides of the nose and underneath the nose a bit too. Okay, so now you can get a good feel for how that bronzer looks. Let's add a bit more warmth using the Benefit Hoola Bronzer. I'm actually going to take that brush that we were using for the finishing powder, just because I feel like it's going to give it a little bit more of a diffused application, and I'm going to layer this one right on top of the Pure Cosmetics bronzer. I'm going to take a little bit across the center of the nose. Okay, and then I'm going to go back into that first bronzer brush I was using, just to kind of blend the 2 colors together even more. And then I'm going to lightly take my sponge and just pat around the edges just to make sure that everything's pressed down. and everything looks super seamless. So for highlighter, Joanna hit pan on the Fenty Beauty Killawatt highlighter in Lightning, Dust, and Fire Crystal. I love this highlighter so much, and actually a couple of you guys mentioned this exact highlighter that you had hit pan on, so that made me really excited to use it in today's video. There's also another highlight that I might layer on top. We'll see how this goes. But this is such a beautiful highlight. I personally use this shade right here. It's a little bit more subtle. I think this is the shade Lightning Dust. I'm going to take that on a highlighter brush and I'm just going to buff that into the skin, kind of in a larger area, just in case I do layer up that second highlight, which I think I will. This just melts into the skin, and even though it's a powder and it's extremely reflective, it's not glittery. Like, do you see how it kind of almost has the effect of a cream highlight in a lot of ways? It's one of the prettiest powder highlighters I've ever used. I love this. This shade right here is a little bit more intense, which I love to layer on top of this first shade if I want something a little bit more glam, I guess. But this one that I'm using right here is definitely more of my everyday kind of a shade when it comes to highlighters. Okay, so now that that's nice and blended, I would have layered this one on top of it, but so many people mentioned the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in the shade Soft and Gentle, so I wanted to layer this up a little bit more precisely over the areas that I want extra glow. So I'm just gonna take that and pop it right here. Things are looking very glowy today, but that's all right. I'll take a little down the center of the nose, a little on the Cupid's bow. I'm really into both of those highlighters. So I'm a little bummed about this. Let me explain. So many people said that they hit pan on the Amazonian Clay 12-Hour Blushes from Tarte. Some people had specific shades, some people didn't. The number one shade that I saw was called Party. It's a Sephora exclusive. I don't have a Sephora in my town, and I guess I could have ordered it online, but I wanted to get this video up because it's already been delayed. So instead, one person mentioned a specific shade in this formula, so I picked that up at Ulta. Okay, I'm going through my screenshots and I don't see a screenshot of the person that told me this specific shade. All I have is Autumn Light saying the Tarte Amazonian Clay blush, and then I have another one with the shade Party. So I'm so sorry to whoever suggested this. If you know who you are, comment down below. I want to give you credit, but this is the shade Seduce, which is such a beautiful kind of a nude shade. So it looked pretty similar to the shade Party. Also, a lot of people said the shade Exposed, which I also love. I own that one. So I'm just gonna dip my brush into this, tap off the extra, and then apply it to the apples of the cheeks. Ooh, that's so pretty. I'm gonna take a little bit across the center of the nose. And then, like I've been doing with every other product, I'm just gonna take my sponge and press that down into the skin. I really like that shade. Okay, I'm gonna wipe off any foundation that got on the lips. So for lipstick, Savannah Baker said the ColourPop Luxe lipstick in Third Eye and What's Your Sign. I'm on my second tube of both. I think that's so impressive for like a lipstick. Not that many people go through an entire lipstick, let alone 2 shades. So I have both those shades actually. I already had them in my collection, so this works out great. I'm gonna take the first shade, which is called Third Eye. It's this really pretty matte formula. It's been a while since I've used this. And I'm going to apply that first all over the lips and use my finger to blend it in. And then I'm going to take the shade What's Your Sign, which is a cream formula, so it has a little bit more of a hydrating finish to it, or shiny finish, I guess. I'm going to take that and just place that right in the center of the lips. This one is slightly more beige, but they're both very similar actually. Different formulas though. So pretty. I love that combo. So for a gloss, Sierra Nudo said the Fenty Gloss Bomb for sure is something that she's used up. So I have the original color Fenty Glow. I felt like I would use this one. So many people have said that they have gone through these, which is awesome. I don't blame you, they're so good. I'm gonna place that just in the center of the lips. And then I'm gonna take my finger and kind of blend that out a little. Okay, before we use setting spray, I'm gonna step back and assess the situation. I'm just gonna add a little more bronzer with the bronzer brush. I love the highlight today, actually. That combo was so pretty. I take a little bit of what's left on the blush brush and just pop a bit more of that to the apples of the cheeks. So pretty. Okay, Kylie Enders said that she went through a Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. So I actually picked up a new one. I ran out of this and then never repurchased it, which I'm surprised at myself for doing that because I loved this when I had it. So it was about time to repurchase. So I'm just gonna take this and set the entire face. Oh yes, that smell brings me back so many memories. I'm just gonna use my handy fan to dry things off. Once the setting spray is almost dry, I'm just gonna take my sponge one more time and press everything into the skin. All right, last but not least, so many of you guys said you hit pan on this. It made me really happy because it's definitely one of my most used products too. Haley said definitely the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder. So I'm going to take a little bit of that on a small brush, and I'm just going to press that into the areas that I don't want shine. So for me, it's always in the T-zone, and I always like to put it in areas that I have larger pores. So right here, into the smile lines a little, onto the chin, and then also the tip of the nose for me. I totally forgot to look for a brow gel. So I don't have a screenshot of one that somebody went through. So I'm just going to use my Glossier Clear Boy Brow just to set the brows. Oh, you guys, I forgot to mention when I was talking about bronzer, the #1 bronzer absolutely definitely was the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, but because I've used that so much on my channel, I wanted to use a couple of different ones that were mentioned, but I wanted to make sure to mention that because that was hands down the #1 bronzer that you guys are loving and using up. Okay, so here is the final makeup look. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had so much fun filming this. I love how my makeup turned out. As far as the new products go, like the blush, the mascara, the brow pencil, and I think that's everything that I hadn't tried before, I will have a note down below letting you know how it wore on me throughout the day. I do know that I love this formula, so I can pretty much positively say that I'm going to enjoy it. The shade is really beautiful. I'll let you know about the mascara though, whether it smudges or flakes, because I love the formula. If this wears well, I will be very happy. So, and also the brows. So I'll let you guys know in the description box. Thank you to everybody who submitted your products. I seriously love doing these videos where you guys are involved. It's so fun for me to read through all of your submissions. And I hope you guys found it helpful. Hopefully it also inspires you to use up your makeup. It's satisfying to hit pan. It's satisfying to go through your products. So hopefully it inspires you guys to do so. Let me know if you would like to see more of this type of video in the future. I always want to be creating videos that you guys want to see. If you're new here, hi, my name is Allie, and I would love for you to join the family. You can do so by hitting the subscribe button. And if you're already a subscriber but you want to be notified on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, click on the bell after you subscribe and you'll get a notification every single time I post. That's it for me today. I feel so glam and so luxurious with nowhere to go, but that's all right. I'm in my sweatpants and I have a full glam face on, and that's what I like these days anyway. So I hope you guys have an amazing day wherever you are. Stay safe and stay healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Love you. Bye.